Welcome back to the channel. It's a new season with a new Champions League format. Now, there's been a lot made about the Champions League format, but I'm looking at the draw, and I feel like this is the first time in a lot of years that Celtic actually have a decent chance of doing something you'd like to think. A first game, I can't even pronounce the name of the team we're playing. What is the name of the team we're playing?
I'm literally just Slovan Bratislava.
Right, well, what country are they from? Oh, this is bad prep for me.
Bratislava is what a start. Bratislava's in Slovakia.
Right, okay. To me, I've not seen them play much, right? But see, if we're going to have any chance to do anything, we need to win that first game at home against them.
100%.
If we don't win that game, we may as well just throw in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the draw. Talking about the draw, I think it's about as good as we could expect for a Champions League draw. But that first game is a must-win. We need to win against, like you're saying, see if we don't beat Bratislava at home, I think it will be another womp type Champions League campaign for Celtic. But looking at the draw, I don't think, just to reiterate what you just said there, man, we have not got a better chance of going further in Europe.
Well, let's talk about all the home games then to start off with. We've got, obviously, I'm not going to try and pronounce the name, but we've got the Emirates Slovakian team. and then we've got, I know we've got Villa away, but what the other home games are.
So we'll read out but I think what we could do is I'll read out the fixtures and we can say what we think that it's going to get, right? So Celtic v Bratislava, I think we're both going to say Celtic win.
Yeah, I think we've got good.
Right. Then on the 1st of October, we go away to Dortmund.
I think if we're being objective, that'd be a tough one to win. I know there's a lot made about the fact that obviously Rangers a couple of seasons back went and beat them 3-0, but I think it's fair to say that was a bit of a freak result.
Yeah.
And I think Dortmund was also, I mean, it's still a great result, I'm not going to take it away from it, but Dortmund were clearly having a bad season that season. I don't expect them to be, I would expect Celtic to get beaten that game.
I'm the same. I would think that
anything for that game's a bonus.
if we get, it's exact, you just took the words right out of my mouth. Anything that we can get going away to Germany is an absolute bonus. I've got no idea how Dortmund are doing is in terms of like current form. But I would just write that one off, to be perfectly honest.
Do you know what's funny about that is typical Celtic would be able to lose the first game and then beat Dortmund away.
Well, you know, if we get beat off Bratislava at Celtic Park and then go away and beat Dortmund, you're like 3 points for the first two games is what I'm expecting. So I mean, I would like to. I mean, if we could get 4 points for the first two games, I think I would say that would be amazing. Absolutely,
I think we'd be in for a real shout then if that's the case.
So then we go away to Atalanta in Italy. And for me, I think we can get a draw.
Now, obviously, there was not a season recently that Atalanta played really well. They got to like a Europa League final or something like that.
But
and they were,
in their first 3 games in Serie A, they've been beat twice and won one, and they lost their first 2. So they're not in fantastic form. And, you know, in recent years, we've went to Lazio and won. So I would like to think that we could go there and give them a game.
Yeah.
If you know, my head's saying Atalanta win narrowly, but my heart's like we could get a result in Italy.
Yeah, I could see that. I think as well when I'm talking about them having a really good season in Europe and stuff like that, they're one of those clubs, if they do have a season like that, they generally speaking lose their top players that following season to other clubs. So, you know, hopefully it's the kind of game where, especially if we do get a couple of good results in the first 2 games, you'd like to think we could use that momentum to get a result in Italy. But I could see us getting a draw there, maybe a 1 each, 2-2, something like that.
Yeah. Then we come home to RB Leipzig. Now, what do you think of that?
I feel like RB Leipzig have been a bit of a bogey team for us in Europe. They've been really difficult for us. Dortmund finished ahead of them in the Bundesliga last season. Dortmund finished 3rd and I think Leipzig were 4th or 5th.
Right.
But there's just something about the way that club's run and how they always seem to find these quality gems from nowhere that you just never really know what to expect from them. I objectively, as much as we're at home and I'd like to think we can get a result, my head says Leipzig beat us that game.
Right, okay. Well, I think, did we not beat Leipzig a couple of years back at Celtic Park? I think we've played them a few times in Europe, and there's been a couple of times where we've been like, we've went to Leipzig either needing a result or think we're going to get a result. We don't get anything. So that guy Poulsen that plays for, I hate the sight of him because the amount of times that he come off the bench or he just bossed the Celtic defence.
Yeah.
So
I think when it comes to the Leipzig home game, my concern is how's Rodgers going to approach these games? Like, because I think when he went here before Ange, a lot of he played the same tactic every game, and it was more of a case of showcasing what his style was as a football manager than it was about us progressing in Europe. Now, I think back then he maybe viewed Celtic as a stepping stone to something bigger in the Premier League. Perhaps now that he's come back, he's not necessarily got an eye on where he's going next. So I'd like to think that he's going to be a bit more pedantic in Europe and able to adjust certain things. Because the fact of the matter is, if we go and try to play Leipzig with that really open, full-flowing style, I feel like the problem I have is they seem so tactically well drilled that they can just counteract that in a way that we can't handle. You know, so it's about whether or not Rodgers are going to adjust that system. It's not so much that he has to change the whole thing, but I think I hope that they're working on how we set up off the ball and to be more compact and not let these teams play through us as much.
yeah, I mean, I think the first time round the remit was domestic dominance with Rangers coming back for the lower leagues, or being in the top league for the first time, whatever way you want to look at it. But I think this time the remit is some form of European success or step changes to be more successful in Europe, better results. Like, I think if we get, I think that's the remit. So I think he's going to be way more pragmatic about it. And also looking at the way that we're playing, we are quite compact off the ball and we're working really, really hard off the ball. Now, you could say that maybe against Hibs we don't need to do that, but I think this is with an eye on playing the majority of games without the ball in the Champions League. He's telling the players you need to be working so hard off the ball because it's really hard to set a team up for one type of game and then flick a switch. And the Wednesday night, it doesn't really work like that. That isn't how you need consistency and you need a system. And I think the system that we're seeing this year is off the ball. We're working so hard. So I think we're going to see a different Celtic, and that RB Leipzig, mate, I'm going to say Celtic won. I think we beat them.
I hope you're correct. I just
Me too.
When I hear Leipzig, I just can't see it for some reason.
But fair enough. The next one is at home to Club Brugge. I think we won that.
I think we win that
We
as
need to
well.
win that.
It's what the Club Brugge game and the first game are two teams that you just think you need to beat them, both of them.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I also feel like if you beat, if we're talking about, there's games there where you're looking at 6-9 points, and I feel like 9 points might be enough to get us into the next round as well. So we're in a really good place against teams that are not. We're not talking about Real Madrid's of the world and all that. So these are teams that we should be able to compete against.
Absolutely. I don't even think we should be competing against Club Brugge. I think we should be beating them. How much are you going to bet that the Scottish press are like, Philippe Clement is Club Brugge's secret agent and how to, do you know what I mean, and giving advice on how to break down Celts or something like that? I'd put money on that, like that's going to be the case. But here's the thing, he's never beat us, so like hopefully they do go and get advice for
We're talking about a club as well that in recent years have had managers like Scott Parker, and you know what I mean? They're not, I don't think they'll necessarily have that elite level European mentality where they expect to beat Celtic, particularly away from home. So we should be able to be on the front foot there and attack them. Because when you talk about how we've been off the ball, you can point to the fact we've had 4 games, 4 clean sheets with very little chances for our team. But also in the Rangers game, what was really interesting was I think in the past you've seen us like sort of press their centre backs. But in the game against them just there, it was like we just let their centre backs have the ball. And part of me wondered whether that was, like you say, about preparing for how we're going to play in Europe, where if the centre backs have it, let them have it, but concentrate on being compact to the midfield. And as soon as the ball comes forward, that's when you press. So the point, the signs are there for a good campaign.
And there's been a lot of chat about exactly what you're talking about there, that Celtic seem to be pressing as a team, but in moments in games. So Callum McGregor seems to be making calls on when we press and when we sit off. And you need that. You can't just go and press teams for 90 minutes. One, you're not going to do it, you know what I mean? Especially against Dortmund in Germany. You can't just try and press them for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll run out of steam. We did that under Ange a few times.
Especially in Europe.
Yeah.
Especially in Europe.
Had a great first half.
Yeah, the 45 minutes, amazing. And then the second half, you just tail it off. Shakhtar Donetsk away points goes right into my head.
100%. Right, so one thing that I was going to say, that if we don't think that Club Brugge, Bratislava, RB Leipzig are looking at this and thinking we've got a really good chance of getting through here, I think we're crazy. I don't think, Club Brugge will be sitting going, we're not going to get anything if we go to Celtic Park. They're going to be like, if we sit and nick a goal, or, it's happened.
Well, every single one of these teams in this group are going to think, what a draw we've got there.
Exactly. Same as what we're thinking. The exact same as what we're thinking. So the next game up is Dynamo Zagreb in Zagreb. I think we've got to win that.
They're not really a team that have done very well in Europe, over the last few years. And they don't have, to my knowledge, any sort of outstanding quality in their team. So if there's an away game we can win, that's the game you'd expect us to go win.
Yeah, 100%. And then the last game in the group, which is on the 22nd of January, which is crazy, is Young Boys at home. And I think we've got to win that. That's like, if we don't win that, we don't deserve. In fact, but we then go to Villa, which is, I'm writing that off.
Yeah.
But if we do not beat Young Boys at Celtic Park, we don't deserve anything for the group.
I would agree. I think, but I mean, when you're naming those teams, you've got Young Boys and you've got Dynamo, was it Zagreb? And these teams, we are just thinking, we can beat these teams, man. Club Brugge and team from Slovakia. These are all games that you're thinking, if we have any aspirations of being any top European club, we need to win these games of football.
100% agree. I hope that we can get the new signings, like sort of bedded in and the team, and we know our strongest 11, because I think that as much as he'll know, I don't know if he'll quite know yet who the strongest 11 is, and I would like to get that. So it'll be interesting to see how we set up the next sort of, against Hearts on Saturday.
Yeah.
To see what team goes out, because obviously Ernie Ingles played a lot of football for Belgium at the international
alongside
break.
De Bruyne as well. That's not
Yeah, so I would be interested to see who the team is on Saturday, because then we've got the Champions League on Wednesday night. It's coming thick and fast.
No,
right?
I know it has, isn't it? And then you've got the away. So when we talk about the away games, you said about Villa being a write-off, right? But one thing I'm going to say about the Villa game that I think could potentially help us out is the fact that the Villa pitch and stadium is smaller, and I feel like, and this might be me kind of overthinking this a little bit, right? I know Villa have done well in the season and stuff like that, but see, the thing is, one of the things I think Celtic have struggled with about away games in Europe is the atmosphere and the quality, plus the size of the pitch. Villa have the atmosphere and the quality, but the pitch is a lot smaller, which I think could help Celtic's energy levels in the game in terms of having less ground to cover and things like that. But that's just me kind of clutching at straws a little bit.
Well, there's that, and I think also we're multi-dimensional now with Kyogo and Ida. We have options to sort of change the game up a wee bit.
It could be a good game for Ida in that. And I also think that if you were going to get an English team, if you were going to get one of them, you'd want it to be Villa.
Out of the teams that we could have got in the Champions League.
Exactly. So
for sure.
So I don't think it's something where, on the right day, if we play the right way, I don't think it's, if it was a Arsenal, Liverpool, or Man City, I'd be writing off. But because it's Villa, I have a weird, the same way that you think we'll beat Leipzig at home, and I don't. I have this weird feeling that we may actually be winning something there.
Right.
I don't know why. I just think it would be total Celtic to just seem like that's going to be impossible, and then we nick a draw or something.
Yeah, and I think, look, we've never been embarrassed in England in recent memory. I mean, if we take it from
Man City away.
Well, not even just that. If we go back as far as Liverpool in the UEFA Cup in '97, you know, we drew 2-2 with them at Celtic Park and then drew nothing each down there. And that team was head and shoulders above the team that we played. But then we bring it into more recent times, Man City or Man United under Gordon Strachan. And that's Ronaldo, Rooney, Rio Ferdinand, like Edwin van der Sar. And we get narrowly beat 3-2 at Old Trafford, and then we beat them 1-0 at Celtic Park. So if that had been a two-legged knockout tie, we would have put Man United at the Champions League. So we've never really went down and been embarrassed. We beat Blackburn in the UEFA Cup run. So you could be right. I think these games have got a bit of bite, and I think that the Scottish teams ultimately have got something to prove. And I think when Celtic have got something to prove, and especially this team that we're seeing this season, it could be dangerous.
And you never know, maybe McGinn decides to have a wee off game that day, you know?
Aye.
I think
Comes out with a Celtic top on at half time. He's got a Celtic top on underneath his Villa top. I think, in comparison, do you want to go over the Rangers draw and the Europa League?
Let's do it.
The formats, see if I'm being honest with you, mate, I had absolutely no clue. I'd read what the format was going to be. I was kind of like, I don't really get this until I seen the draw, and I was like, oh, right, okay. Because I was thinking everybody's in a big league and we just randomly play teams. Then I seen the draw, I was like, right, okay, I get what it is now, right? So
I had no idea to do that, mate. It was hard to understand. But honestly, I think it's quite refreshing. Because it was getting to the point where you go, if you get a group of 4 and you pot 4 and you get a group of Inter Milan, Man City and Real Madrid, you're like that. What's Barcelona? You know, you're like, what's the point of this? You know you're going to finish bottom of that group.
yeah.
And that's what it felt like a lot. Everyone just knew who was going through because the difference in money and quality was so vast. So this new draw seems like it does make it a bit more open and interesting, you know, for sure.
Absolutely. And if you look at the way that Scotland have profited from the change with like the Nations League and the change in the formats for like World Cup qualification and Euros qualification, I think I'm hoping that Celtic get the same sort of bump because we were nowhere near it at times. And it would be like Italy, Holland, you know what I mean, Ukraine and Scotland, and you'd be like, fucking hell, like how are we getting out of this group? But no, because it's a league, it's like every point counts, you know.
Definitely.
So right, so Rangers' first game in the Europa League is at Ibrox against Steaua Bucharest.
I don't know much about Steaua Bucharest, but if you're Rangers, you got to think we need to win that game.
100%.
Like that's when you said that to me, I thought, you know, Ibrox against Steaua Bucharest, you've got to go and get 3 points in that if you've got any chance.
100%. I think like Rangers will go to, again, similar to us, isn't it? If they don't win that, they've got no chance. So I would, and going, we can't ignore that since Gerrard and it seeped into under Van Bronckhorst, they do well in Europe. You know, we don't. So, and that's been across multiple managers. So I would say Rangers have got to win it, and I would think that they won it. Match day 2 is away to Olympiacos.
I think that's, from what I've heard, that's a really hostile ground to go to. And I just, with everything that's going on in Rangers right now, you just look at the team and you go, do they have enough to get in these games? You know, because you can talk about being well structured and well drilled, but when you look at their actual 11, see when you look at the squad they've got, they've registered for the Europe, it lacks in so many areas, you know, and I just wonder whether they have enough to get anything out of a game like that right now. But the form could change. But I say if you're asking me right now, I don't see them getting anything.
I'm with you. I don't see a lot of fight in them, and if they go behind, like at Celtic Park, they seem to down tools.
Yeah, fold like a deck of cards, you could say.
Yeah, so but I would think Olympiacos are going to do that. Right then, match day 5 was that? Did we skip one though?
So that was the second one. It's Olympiacos. So match day 3.
Oh shit! Right, I've got it completely wrong. Right. So we've gave our opinion. I've skipped some games. Match day 1's actually away to Malmo.
Away to Malmo.
That's a tough game.
It is a tough game, but in terms of away games in Europe, Malmo have got to be. If you're Rangers, you've got to think they can't be that far off them. surely. I know that it's a tough game, but one thing you could say is maybe it's came at the wrong time for Rangers away at Malmo.
Uh-huh.
And unless we start to see something, when we talk about the domestic league coming back this weekend, like Rangers need to start showing something here, like of any sort of impetus of a team that can go out and beat a team away from Europe. Because I just don't see it right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be
They've got a tough game at the weekend against Dundee United. So
away.
they're away to Dundee United.
Good form as well for them.
Yep. So that's a tough game. And then they're away to Malmo. So I think that's a tough game. And also I'm pretty sure that the Scandinavian leagues they're like 3/4 of the way through their season. So they're
are they?
settled.
Right.
I'm pretty sure about that, right? I could be wrong. And I get these fixtures wrong.
Is Malmo not Swedish?
Yeah, and Sweden's in Scandinavia.
Right, sorry,
Right. Norway,
Could be
Sweden, and
wrong,
Denmark.
still.
So it's all right. Right, don't worry. I was looking at Google Maps earlier on for Bratislava. Then they go away to Lyon, and I think that is a drubbing waiting to happen.
Definitely. The problem is you just don't, like we say, and you can say this for most of the away games, you just don't see the fight in the team to be able to stick in and stay with it in those big grounds. But at the same time, it's really early on in the season, and who knows, maybe they'll have a bit of an upturn in form. They got a couple of signings they haven't used yet that could change things.
Yep.
But there just doesn't seem to be a lot of positivity going around with the club in general right now either.
Yeah, there's a wee bit of an atmosphere, a wee bit of a toxic atmosphere. It is at Ibrox, Lyon coming to Ibrox, but I just can't see them winning that, just on current form. If they turn the corner, I mean, that's the 3rd of October, there's a month. If they might turn the corner, we never know. But see, actually, like looking at our schedule and their schedule, I'm like, where is their depth? How are they going to be doing this 2 a week? Like, this schedule's insane. Right, so the next game's Steaua Bucharest. We covered that. Then the next game's Olympiacos away. We covered that. So match day 5, they go to Nice in France, away from home.
I mean, I think Nice, they're not one of the top teams in France. I think they'll have a decent team, but again, it's got to be, when you look at a team like Nice away from home, you've got to think that Rangers could at least attempt to get a point out of that game. Because I don't want to sit here as two Celtic fans and say they're going to lose every game away from home, right? That would be a bit of a disaster of a campaign if that was the case. And you've got to think somewhere they're going to pick something up. So I'd imagine that Nice away from home in France might be the right kind of a situation for them to at least get a point out of that game.
Yeah. I mean, potentially, looking at the League One table, or whatever they call it in France, Lyon are currently 3rd bottom, and they've only won 1 out of 3, and Nice have won 1, drew 1. So they're currently sitting 8th. But I think they could get a draw going away there. I think they could get a draw there. Right. See if they've not got like 8-9 points by this point. I don't think they're going through. So the next match is Tottenham at Ibrox.
Well, I think they're going to get hammered, especially because Ange will just want to tear them apart.
100%.
He just want to tear them apart.
Could you imagine if Steven Gerrard came back to Celtic Park with Liverpool?
Yeah.
He would be absolutely desperate to beat us. I think they're going to get absolutely ransacked at that.
Well, because as well, like Tottenham, I know they've not got the points, but they've performed really well in all their games so far this season, and I think it was pretty clear over the last few seasons that Andrew was here that they couldn't handle Andrew's style of play, and he's going to have arguably better quality than we had. So
I don't think it's an argument. It's a guarantee.
So I just think, I could see them getting torn apart that game.
Absolutely. Then they go to Old Trafford to play Man United, and I think as much as Man United are now on a great run of form, I think that's another drubbing.
Well, one of the bigger reasons I think that would be a drubbing is more because of the size of Old Trafford itself. That pitch is massive, and there's a lot of ground to cover. Like, I mean, in terms of it's bigger. I think I'm right in saying that pitch is like even bigger than Ibrox and bigger than Parkhead, and probably the biggest stadium in England. Maybe
I'd say it's probably on a par with Hampden. Hampden's got a big pitch, like a really big pitch.
I think that ground to cover for them, and from a Man United perspective, they've got to be, they would probably expect to be. You would expect to be Rangers comfortably there.
Yeah. And then the last game is at Ibrox, and I don't know how to pronounce this. Union
Berlin?
No. I just lost the fixture. Sorry, I'm going to go and find it again. There's Tottenham. There's Man United. It's Union Saint Gleos, I think. I have no idea
They're a German team?
who they are. Let's find it.
Well, I mean, without even knowing that, that is a game where you've got to think they can get 3 points out of there, surely.
Sturm Graz. So that was their last game, I think. So, they're for Belgium.
Belgium?
So I think they're like the third biggest team in Belgium behind Anderlecht and Club Brugge at Ibrox. I would be expecting them to win that.
Yeah, I would expect them to win that. But also, I think as well, depending on how it goes before then, like we talked about, before you play Man United and Spurs, you've got to have a certain amount of points. If they don't get the result before Man United and Spurs, because they are all tricky games, and the depth comes into question at big time for me. So if you don't get the result before Man United and Spurs, I think the kind of momentum could drive them into losing that game.
Yeah, potentially.
If everything's kind of doom and gloom by that point.
So let's hear your predictions for where do you think Celtic will get through?
So
do you think Rangers will get through?
In terms of the qualification for this, how does it work? Who qualifies for what to get to the next round of this?
So,
because I'm not exactly sure on
I
that.
think that I'm pretty sure.
Because there's 24 teams or something, 36 teams.
Yeah, so I think like 38 teams go into the last 16, and then 16 teams. Sorry, no, that's not right. 16 teams go into a playoff, and then 8 teams go straight into the top 8 in the Champions League and the Europa League, because it's one big league.
Mm-hmm.
The top 8 go straight to the last 16.
Mm-hmm.
Then the 8 teams below that.
No,
the 16 teams below that go to a playoff. So the 8 teams that win the playoff go into the last 16 to play.
And below the playoff, then how many?
Go out.
There's what is there altogether? 30 teams.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I think basically to qualify, you need to be one of the best 24 teams to get a chance of qualifying for the last 16, which I think, looking at the group and looking at the games we've got to fancy ourselves, surely.
Uh-huh.
I don't think neither Celtic or Rangers will get in the top 8. But I would expect.
I don't think so either.
But I would expect Celtic to be in one of those 16 places, and I suppose the higher up you get, the better the draw could be. But based on the 2 games we have, I think it would be a good achievement and good progress for us to be in that one of those 16 teams.
Yep.
And then from there it's just basically a shellacking into the playoff.
Yeah, I think we'll. My prediction is that Celtic will make the playoff.
Do you know my thing with Rangers, right? And I'm not even meaning this from a Celtic perspective. I try and be as objective. We both try and be as objective as we possibly can. But the problem I'm having with seeing them doing well and qualifying for this is, like you say, just that lack of depth. If you look at their squad, they've only got Dessers up front, who's not exactly, known for his quality. And then if he gets injured anyway, any point, they get no one there, no one else is registered, really.
I think their back four's lacking depth as well. They're lacking depth at left and right back.
Yeah.
And at centre half. Like, I've got a feeling that they'll get into the playoff. I don't know why. And I think my predictions for the games when we were scrolling through would mean that they wouldn't make the playoff.
Yeah.
But I've just got this wee niggling. I think they're going to scrape their way into the playoff,
I think the format helps them and it does give them a good chance. But the problem for me is just that, like, when you talk about having lack of depth all over the pitch and how intense these games are going to be and how many games there are to play in the league as well, it's going to be really, really tough for them. But I do think for Scottish football's sake, it would be good, obviously, if Celtic and Rangers were both to qualify in some way in the Champions League, especially because we're getting, our coefficient's getting redone next season. And it's one of those things where if we want to keep getting a chance to qualify for these things, we need to, both teams, I think, need to have a reasonably good season here. But I think the emphasis is on Celtic to do that because we've went out and got the players, we've strengthened. There's not much we haven't done to give us a good goal. Whereas I think Rangers are kind of trodden along a little bit. And unless you start to see, you know, maybe this guy they signed, I can't remember his name, but the midfielder, the Moroccan midfielder, I think. Maybe he's going to like if
Algerian or something.
Yeah, if he comes in and adds that bit of quality, then that might help the midfield a wee bit. But it's just hard to see where that spark comes from in their team.
I think for my prediction to come true and for them to get to the playoff, there's going to need to be a change in form. On current form, they're doing nothing.
Yeah,
I mean they'll do nothing. I think they'll panic on current form. But I don't know. There's something in me is just like I don't know, man. I think they might.
Well, historically, Rangers have done well in Europe past few seasons. You can't ignore that. And the fact is, as well, like Clermont will know that he needs something because domestically he's not looking too great. And it's like you need to pull like if he's getting about him, this Clermont guy, if he's getting about him, he's going to need to pull something at the back here.
Well, as Van Bronckhorst found out, on even a European final isn't enough to save you. If domestically you just absolutely shit the bed.
But then at the same time, it may not matter because it may be a case of just saying the extension, and it may be a case of maybe when I say he needs it, maybe the Rangers board needs something to justify keep them. Because I don't think, and I'm not talking about finances, I just don't think they're in a place where they can afford to sack him in terms of giving the guy a new deal. And then also you go, who are you bringing in? Who's coming in right now that's going to make it better? Barry Ferguson? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what are we talking about here? You might as well stick with the guy because you need something to have some sort of stability.
They need to change their tactic, and the tactic that they've tried so far is like a manager every season. So it's no worked, has it? So they need to go to a midfield three. They keep doing this thing where they have two deep and then they have that kind of central attack midfielder and Tom Lawrence. But they need to just go at a defensive midfield three, I think. Because I don't think any of the midfielders they have are good enough to play in a two. And if they went in a three, it would give them a bit more stability. Because that attacking midfielder and Tom Lawrence or whoever's in that role doesn't seem to be providing them with any sort of attacking output. So if you're putting an attacking midfielder in there to be attacking and he's not attacking, then just drop into a midfield three and try to be a bit more compact. Although I'm not a manager, I'm just looking at our team and going, the midfield just seems all over the shot all the time. I mean, Celtic with one pass was cutting through them. Do you know what I mean? And you need to, if you go into Europe with that approach, you're going to get beat every single game. Well, we'll see how it works.
So, but I can see them scraping through just based on their form in recent years, and the new format gives them a better chance. But I expect Celtic to get in the one of those 16 teams, and then I would also hope that in those 16 teams, depending on who we get, we have a reasonably good chance of going into the actual last 16, which would be amazing for Celtic if we could get to that point.
Absolutely.
I would love us to win some sort of tie in Europe and kind of kill that negative thing about that. But it's an exciting season, and I'm really looking forward to see how it plays out. So hopefully, starting next Wednesday, we'll see what it's all going to. You know, if we're sitting here saying 3 points in the bag, I'll be more than happy with that.
Same.
Okay, well, we'll end it there. But there's plenty more content to the channel coming, so stay tuned. And we've just dropped a podcast with Sean Chalmers, the comedian, yesterday. So if you haven't seen that yet, check it out.